You're looking at these icons here and trying to figure out these pictures. On this one, this picture might, Marianne is guessing that this one, I just have to wait and see. We'll be on that one. So we'll just have to wait and see what that one is. But last week we talked about the palm. Here, this icon here, and so we talked about how the palm branches were laid down for Jesus. Let me ask you, what was the point of that? To recognize him as king. Jesus is king. He came in riding on a donkey as king, and people recognized him and threw palm leaves down to honor Jesus. And his response was what? Jesus' response was he wept. Jesus wept. And as Jesus rode in on the donkey, he wept. Why is that? Because these people did not understand. They did not really understand why Jesus came. And he knew that later they would. But at that moment, they did not. They thought that Jesus had come to be what? To be king. They thought that Jesus was coming to resolve political power. Today in America, do we have political problems? Another debate, another primary, another election. And this Tuesday is Super Tuesday, right? Are there political problems today? Yeah, there are. Jesus' goal was not to solve those political problems during that time. His goal is not to do that here on earth. Could it happen? Well, yeah, it could happen, but it won't. We will never have peace on earth. There's an old song called Imagine. Maybe some of you have heard it. It's actually not a Christian song. It's called Imagine, and it talks about imagining if there were no wars, or imagine if there was no religion, or imagine if there was no heaven, imagine if, and just all these different things that you could imagine, what it might look like. And it talks about how there would be peace. And there would just be peace with everyone. Is that going to happen here on earth? No. Never. Sure, you can imagine all you want. But in reality, there is no peace on earth. There will be wars. It's not one thing, it'll be another thing. It's not that, it's something else. From the beginning of time until now, there's always been war. So here, the people of Israel, they were wanting Jesus to become the king, to take over and give peace. And Jesus wept. Because it wasn't about that. It wasn't about politics. And we're actually going to see more of that today. Let's go ahead and dive into this. The theme for today is the Last Supper. I sign it this way, the Last Supper, and maybe in ASL it would be said this way, or we understand supper. Let me give you some background first, and then we'll get into this. So Jesus rides in on a donkey on Palm Sunday, and as we come closer to the time of the cross, we see some of these events happen. And mostly, I'm going to be using the book of Luke. We will be jumping some through the other Gospels, some in John, but mostly in Luke and John today. I'm going to start here in Luke chapter 22, verse 1. Now the feast of unleavened bread drew nigh, which is called the Passover. Now let's pray, and then we'll get into this. All right, Father in heaven, we open your word today. Help us to understand it and apply it, and not just look at it as a nice story, but that there would be application. Bless your word today. Help us to understand it. In Jesus' name, amen. I'm going to expand a little bit on this. Now, we understand this word. Let's understand it here, this Passover. What does that mean? Well, I like Marshall's sign the best. Pass over this way. Because they were being, someone would pass over. Let me tell this story here briefly. So Israel, during this time, where were they? They were in Egypt, right? And Israel was inside of Egypt. They were in slavery, and the 10 plagues happened one by one to the Egyptians, and then the very last one, number 10, God said that I will kill the firstborn of every household. And Israel wept. The firstborn, that carries on their line, and God says, well, there is a way where you could save your firstborn if you sacrifice a lamb and paint the blood on your doorposts. Why? Why did Jesus say to do that? Or why did God say to do that? The angel then would come by, and as if the angel saw the blood around the door of your home, the angel would pass by your home and not come into your home, or the firstborn son would not be killed. The angel would just pass over your house if there was blood. If there was no blood, then the firstborn would be killed. So that Passover, as the angel would pass over, became one word, Passover. There are different signs that I've seen throughout the years for this word, this event, and really it's just mostly spelled out. This is celebrated every year. Moses started the celebration of this. Let's look here in some Old Testament verses about the Passover. In Leviticus chapter 23, verses 5 through 8, it says, in the 14th day of the first month at even. What does at even mean? I'm talking about the evening, the evening at nighttime. when the sun is setting, when the sun is even with the earth. And usually that happens around 6 o'clock evening, okay, at even. Is the Lord's Passover. And on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Lord. 7 days you must eat unleavened bread, and the first day ye shall have an holy convocation. That means a special set apart time to do this. Okay, you know the Sabbath, you've heard that word Sabbath. It's similar to that. Really, it's called, they call it the High Sabbath in Jewish culture. A holy convocation. Okay, ye shall do no servile work therein, but ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord 7 days. And the 7th day is an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. Nisan is the month. They have different. Their months were different, named differently than ours. We have January through December, those months, but in the Hebrew terms, they call those months differently. They follow the moon and the lunar calendar, and every year it's different. It could be 358 or 385 days in a year, and it really just depends on the year, how they follow these things. Easter is never on the same day. You know how it gets moved around. Sometimes it's this week or that week because it follows the Jewish calendar. Now, the Jewish calendar, on the Jewish calendar, the very first month is called Nisan. And on the 14th day of that first month, here we saw in verse 5, at 6 o'clock at 6 o'clock, usually they do it a little bit earlier, at 3, but at that time they would kill and a sacrifice. And make a sacrifice they would take a Passover lamb and kill it for their sacrifice, and they would do this annually. You know, instead of taking the sheep every year and painting it on the doorpost, they would just kill a lamb, and at that same exact time, at 6 o'clock, and as soon as they do that at 6 o'clock, it becomes the 15th, the very next day, because the Jewish calendar they follow, that's how they do their calendar. So today, like at 6 p.m., right after 6 p.m., it would be Monday morning. We start Monday at midnight, right? But on the Jewish calendar, they start the next day at 6:01. So at 6:01, it would be Monday morning. Okay? You understand that? And just like in Genesis, we see in the evening and in the morning was the first day, and the evening and the morning was the second day, the evening and the morning was the third day. And we see that in Genesis. And they say evening first, so the evening and the morning. So then Monday night, we do it the opposite. We do Monday morning, Monday night, Tuesday morning, Tuesday night, but they do it the other way around. Okay, so what's the point of all this? All right. Let's get there. So, on the 14th day, at midnight, well, our time, midnight, but theirs, 6 in the evening, and they would do their sacrifice and start the first day of the week. So, the first day is their Sabbath day, and the last day is their Sabbath day. That's how they do their calendar. Okay, are you with me so far? Just wanted to give you some background and some history of the Jewish calendar. Here in Exodus 12, we see it say, and in the first day there shall be an holy convocation, and in the 7th day there shall be an holy convocation to you. No manner of work shall be done in them, save that which every man must eat, that only may be done of you. And ye shall observe the feast of unleavened bread, for in the selfsame day have I brought your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore shall ye observe this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month at even, ye shall eat unleavened bread, until the 1 and 12th day of the month at even. Okay. Let me give you a little background on what the Jews would do. On the 14th day, they would start at even, 6 o'clock, kill a lamb as their sacrifice, and then they would eat nothing but unleavened bread there on out. What is unleavened bread? It is bread with no yeast. We use these crackers. It's similar. There's all different kinds of unleavened bread. It's typically pretty thick. It's not soft. It doesn't rise and become soft bread. It's usually hard and flat and thick. Okay. The Jewish culture, their tradition, on the 14th day, they would have like a cleanup. So they would look and make sure that there is no yeast inside the house. You know, the kids would play games and they might hide some bread. You know how like we would hide our Easter eggs for the kids, but the kids would hide bread all throughout the house. And or they would hide the bread all throughout the house, and the kids would look for it and throw out all the bread that they could find in the house, because the point was to remove all yeast from within the house. So that was on the 14th. That's what they would do. And then right at 6 o'clock, from there on out, for 1 week, they would eat no unleavened bread. Only for that 1 week. Okay? One and 20th. That means 21. So then you have the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, 21. That would be 7 days that they would not eat unleavened bread. Okay? Understand that? They would only eat unleavened bread. Okay. Okay, so here on the 14th, this all happened on one day. This was a busy day for Jesus, busy day for the disciples. Okay, so the 13th at 6, right? At 6:01 and the 13th, it becomes the 14th. And that becomes the day of the Passover, also the day of preparation. Why is it called the day of preparation? To prepare for the next 7 days, right? To remove all the bread out from the house and to prepare for that, to prepare for the sheep to be sacrificed, to prepare our hearts. That's the big picture. So that is the day of preparation. We will see that word, the day of preparation, several times in the Easter story. Several times it is mentioned. It is said the day of preparation. You'll see that. Okay, so the 14th day is the same day that the lamb would be killed, which is the same day that Jesus would die. Do you see the picture here where the lamb is killed and Jesus dies? It's the same. It's almost exactly at the same time. Because they would do it around 3 o'clock, and Jesus died around 3, and so we're going to see more about that later, but to see how that compares there, it's the same. So on the 14th, they would have a big celebration, celebratory meal, and just for the Passover. Okay, you know how we have like Christmas dinner? They have that Passover meal. All the disciples came together and they would eat, and then as soon as the sun would go down, we're here in Luke 22 we see, and when the hour was come, he sat with the 12 apostles with him. So right now where they are, they're in the upper room. I don't want to get into that, but so they're in the upper room sitting together. Jesus is there with the disciples. We think maybe there's some women there. We don't see it really mentioned or named that women were there, but it's possible that they were there preparing the food and serving the food. It's possible, but we don't know. Okay, notice here what Jesus says. And he said unto them, with desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of God. Jesus is sitting here with his disciples. In my opinion, it's really important to understand here the mind of Christ. As Jesus is sitting here, he says, I'm so happy to be with you tonight. And it's really the last time that I can sit here with you. He's really here with all his best friends. His mom probably is not there. His brothers are definitely not there. Who is Jesus with? In the last few moments of his life, he's with the 12. He's with his best friends. My best friends are here. It pleases me to sit here with you. Soon I will suffer. So we're going to hold that there and jump over to John. And I'm doing that because, I wasn't there. I wish I was there. I wish I could have been there to see, or wish I was a fly on the wall to see it all happen. We don't know exactly the times of when each event happened. Just like as I mentioned last week in Matthew, it was recorded here in Luke and Mark, and then in John. They all have recorded these things, and 3 of them are actually pretty similar. John has a little bit of a different perspective. So Matthew, Mark, and Luke said that they had all sat together and ate together, and then after they ate together, Jesus did the Lord's Supper with them. He broke the bread, and they did that after they had their regular feast, their regular meal. And then after they had their regular meal, then they did the Lord's Supper. They did that. We'll actually see in John, you'll see in John that where he adds the story, but Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they don't mention it, but only John does. Talks of the story of Jesus washing their feet. So after they're eating their regular meal, not the communion part, but after they ate their meal, Jesus stands up. Really during the meal. In the middle of their meal, actually, and it's really odd. It's not normal in Jewish culture to stand up in the middle of their meal. And Jesus stands up while everyone's eating, and he gets a towel and puts it around his waist, and he pours out some water while the disciples are still sitting around the table eating. Jesus gets down and he starts washing their feet with the water and the towel. Why is he doing that? Someone said humility. Well, but why? Well, this was his last moment with them. I just want to do one more thing with you, something special, to show that I really care about you. I want to show you my love for you. And he washes their feet. Now, compare this to 3 days ago. 3 days ago, where was Jesus? He was riding on a donkey. Who was he? King. The people were throwing down their garments and the palm leaves, and they were yelling out, "Hosanna! King of Kings, the Messiah." And now where is Jesus 3 days later? He's washing the disciples' feet. Peter notices, and he doesn't like it. He is turned off, and he doesn't like it. He's upset. He's mad. Peter says, in And Jesus is going one by one, and Peter says, Lord? Notice his words here. Lord. Lord? You're washing my feet? Jesus says, what I'm doing, you don't understand it now, but later you will. I love it. Makes me laugh. I love it. Later, later. Later you'll get it. I love that. But Jesus says later. You'll understand later. And Peter says what? He says, no. You will never wash my feet. I refuse to let you wash my feet. You're king. You're the Messiah. Peter is the one who said, thou art the Christ, the Son of God, the Son of the living God. And Jesus says, you're right, Peter. You're right. And Peter says, well, you aren't washing my feet. I won't allow it. For the king, the Messiah, to wash my feet? No way. I'm worthless. You're king. No way. Jesus says, if I don't wash your feet, you can't be with me. That has no part with me. Oh, Peter says, fine. Then just wash all of me, not only my feet. Peter has no medium. He's never in the middle. He's either nothing or, he's either sitting or way ahead of you. He has no medium there, Peter. He's like, you're never going to wash my feet. And Jesus said, well, if you can't wash my feet, then you have no part of it. Okay, fine, then just wash all of me. Wash all of me. He said, wash my hands, my feet, my head, everything. Just wash it all. I really want part. I want all in. I'm in. Jesus said, all right. Calm down, Peter. I've washed your feet. That's enough. You're clean. Here he says, you are clean. But not all. In verse 10 here. Why did Jesus say, but not all here? Why does he say that? Verse 11. For he knew who should betray him. Therefore said he, ye are not all clean. Jesus washed Judas's feet. Let that sink in for a minute. Jesus went one by one, washing his disciples' feet. There, Judas is next. He says, let me wash your feet. I know what you're going to do to me. I know it's coming. We'll actually look at that more next week. I'm going to wash your feet too, Judas. You're not clean, though. I know, Jesus says. Jesus washes all their feet. as they're sitting there at the table. Then Jesus says, all right, let's go back to the table. So now the disciples are confused, like, all right, this is weird. The disciples don't know what to say. They don't have a comment. This is different. This is not the typical thing that Jesus would do. It's not normal behavior from him. Okay. So Jesus sits. And he talks and says some things, and we'll actually look a little bit more at this next week, some of these things. But he says here, there's trouble. It says here, he was troubled in spirit. I believe that he cried here. He says, verily, verily, I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me. Immediately, the disciples, what did they do? Oh, is it me? Is it me? Jesus, is it me? Is it me? Is it me? They were asking. Who is it? They all looked at each other. Remember, when Jesus sat, as soon as he sat down, he says, I'm happy. At the very beginning, he says, I'm so happy to be here with you. My friends, my closest friends, I love you. Then he washes their feet. And then he says, you know what? One of you are going to betray me. The mood, you could feel it instantly change. They're all confused as to who it might be. And here, John. There was actually, in John 13, it says there was actually one of them who was leaning up on Jesus. And that was John. We're talking about John. He was leaning on on Jesus. John is the one who wrote. He doesn't name himself. But it was John. He was leaning up on Jesus. And then Simon Peter beckoned him, kind of making eye contact to John, not to Jesus, but Peter and John are making some kind of eye contact, trying to just kind of talking privately of what they think is who it might be. And so then John said something to Jesus. There, just a little whisper here and there. And nobody else heard it. This is John and Peter. Those are the only two who knew. As they're whispering to each other, saying, and Jesus says, to whom I shall give a sop, that when I have dipped it. So Jesus had dipped that and gave it to Judas Iscariot. And then they knew. We'll talk about that more next week, about Judas. And then after that, Satan entered into him. And then Jesus said unto him, that thou doest, do it quickly. Again, we're going to talk more about that part of it next week. After this, then we see Jesus have the Last Supper here. after all of these things, after they were done eating, after the washing of the feet and the drying, and then Judas is dismissed, he leaves, and then Jesus says this. Now, and this is what we're going to do today together. And Jesus says, he talks about the bread and the cup. Again, I'm going to pull this, connect it over to the Passover. Remember the Passover, the Feast of the Unleavened Bread. Over 1,000 years, Jews, from 1000 BC to present day, or actually 1000 BC to Jesus' time, and even still today, for 1 week, they would take this time to remember. To remember what? To remember Egypt. Remember Egypt? Remember what happened in Egypt. Remember how God took us out from Egypt. God saved our children. Remember this. Remember, for 1,000 years they did this to remember. And then now here, Jesus is sitting with the disciples and he's telling them to remember. Is he telling them to remember about Egypt? No. He's saying, from now on, remember me. Not Egypt, but me. Jesus says, this is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. And we're going to do this right now. We're going to ask him to break the bread just so Jesus would. Give them out to his disciples. This do in remembrance of me. Let's do it right now. Come on.
Bye. Why?
Why eat? Why eat? Remember me, Jesus says. Remember me. My body is broken for you. Likewise, also, he took the cup. Go ahead. Jesus says, this cup is the New Testament, the new agreement, the new covenant. What's the New Testament? What is that? The new agreement. What is it? In my blood. Blood. Well, maybe they thought, oh, the blood, the king's blood. No, Jesus is very clear. He says, the blood was just shed for you. Here, according to Luke, notice here, according to Luke, who's there? He said, here it says Judas is there for the Last Supper. It says, but behold, the hand of him that betrayeth me is with me on the table. Judas is there. most people, or most pastors, say that Judas did not participate in the Last Supper. But for me here, it's pretty clear. It says that where Jesus' hand that dips in, but here we see that Judas is there. Again, we will emphasize this more next week. And here in Matthew, it's the same. It says, and while they ate, he took bread and blessed it and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many. For what? For the remission of sins. Jesus is telling the disciples. He's telling Judas, my blood will be shed for the removal of your sins. Now, today we use this mostly for the Lord's Supper. In 1 Corinthians, Paul is writing this to the church. He's trying to help them with their problems, and he says here, and we have given thanks, take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you, this do in remembrance of me. And this cup is the New Testament, my blood, this do as often as you drink it in remembrance of me. I've emphasized all the events that happened, that took place up to this. And why is it? Well, Jesus says to them, soon. The cross is coming soon. My body will be broken. My blood will be shed. And this is where I'm going to close for today. Really, it's not a great ending to the meal that they had. When you go, when you eat and have a meal with your friends, your family, and you all have talked, and you really enjoyed your meal, you leave feeling pretty good about your time together with your family and your meal. And Jesus says to them as he comes, he says, at the very beginning, he says, I really want to enjoy my time with you. I want this time together right now. It's really sad to me. You know, I could go on about this, but it's just really sad. Jesus had come to enjoy this one last time with his disciples, to share with them, to wash their feet. What did the disciples talk about during the meal? Do you know? What did they talk about? They argued. Who will be greater than heaven? No. Or who will be the greatest in heaven? They had this competition just going on. No, I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. This was the last meal that Jesus had with his disciples, and the disciples argued about who would be better in heaven. Well, why? Because they were thinking about the politics side of it, that Jesus was going to become king there, and that Jesus was going to take over and And so the disciples are talking about, well, I'm going to be the right-hand man. And the other one says, no, I'm the right-hand man, and you're going to be second. And they're talking about what their roles are going to be as he becomes king. There might have been some just kind of teasing there, but Jesus is just broken. Pretty much you guys are idiots. Don't you get it? I'm not talking about political reign. I'm not talking about the kingdom. I'm here, I'm washing your feet. Because I'm a servant. I'm not the king, sit on the throne here an eternity later. But for now, I am here to shed my blood for you, to give you my body. And still, 2,000 years later, this is the same for you. Jesus came for me. Let me ask. First, has Jesus washed you? Maybe you're like Peter and you say, nope, don't wash my feet. Maybe you're here today and you know the story. But you still have not accepted. You know, I know people who know. They know many years. They know the story many years. They've known it. But they haven't accepted it. They haven't said, oh, Jesus, yes, wash my feet. Oh, and my hands, and my head, and my heart. I love Peter here. I love his response. Oh, I'm wrong? Okay, well, then everything I said I know I'm wrong. Well, just do it all then. I want it all. Wash me all clean. I want all. I'm all in. Are you all in? Have you accepted Jesus? 100%. For sure. Maybe you're here today and there's doubt. Don't continue living with doubt. I encourage you to come. Talk to me. Secondly, do you accept Jesus' body broken for you? The body of Christ. It's not really the body of Christ, no. But it's a symbol, a picture. Sorry, Tim. For you. For you. His blood was shed out for you. Have you accepted that? Will you accept it? Or you're resisting? You're resisting. Oh, I know it. But do you accept it? And fourthly, will you stand for him? Will you be bold like Peter and say, I'm all in? Come on. I'm ready. Close here with prayer. Maybe you're here today and you say, Mark, Pastor Mark, I haven't been washed. Anyone? I haven't accepted. Maybe you have accepted, but I'm not standing for him like I should. I must stand for him. Let's pray. Father in heaven, thank you for your body. Thank you for your blood. May we accept you. Maybe there's people here that have accepted you a long time ago, but they say, I'm not standing for you. I'm weak, and church is not so important. God is not so important, and I'm just not standing up for him. Lord, may we stand for you. Bless us today.